The Beltway, the highway that encircles much of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, connecting millions to far-reaching stretches of the region. Hundreds of accidents occur within its domain every single year. When taking that into account, it's natural to think of the Beltway's drastic effects on the community that it slices through in order to get people from point A to point B.
I live in the Indian Spring community, which is just behind the ramp and just inside the Beltway 495. And I walk that neighborhood all the time with my two dogs, and I see how fast people are driving and how immune people are to pedestrians, to students walking to school, to even people riding their bike down that area, because it's all about getting on and off the Beltway as quickly as possible, and that creates some pretty unsafe circumstances.
This cry is a familiar one for students in the halls of Blair, the school with the largest student body population in Maryland. Situated directly north of Colesville's intersection with the Beltway, many students are forced to walk across 4 treacherously designed exit and entrance ramps, complete with haphazardly set up crosswalks that, coupled with careless driving, provide a recipe for disaster.
I guess it was a couple weeks ago, I was coming off the Beltway at Colesville Road on my way back to Blair, and it was nighttime, not very good lighting, and it was raining, and I stopped for someone who was in the crosswalk, and an accident almost happened behind me because they don't anticipate people stopping there.
The beyond weak design of these on and off ramps simply cannot be understated. Oftentimes, overgrown shrubbery obscures drivers' views of pedestrians and vice versa. This, combined with the blind spots exhibited on both of the 2 exit ramps intersecting northbound Colesville, provide a huge pedestrian danger. This was the case of Blair student Hunter Walterman, who was just trying to get to school one day when he was struck by a moving vehicle on his bike.
Well, I live right next to Colesville, so I walk along that sidewalk a lot of the time. To go to and from school every day, I take the sidewalk, and I actually got hit by a car once while I was crossing the 495 on-ramp. There's always accidents and there all the time, so it's kind of a dangerous place.
But students aren't the only ones who have to deal with this. Blair's staff have also experienced peril at the hands of reckless driving in Fourth Corners.
Yeah, last year we had 2 incidences. Mr. Seals, our security guard, he wasn't on duty yet. Right before 7 a.m. he left Blair, he parked at Blair, he walked to 7-Eleven to get a coffee, and as he was returning, he stepped off the curb into the crosswalk and he was hit by a car. And he was off work for 10 days. Luckily, there wasn't, he didn't, endure any greater injury because the driver just didn't see him.
I think something needs to be done. I don't want a fatality. I've seen cars out of control going too fast as they enter the Beltway, and I've seen cars coming off the Beltway too fast. And there needs to be something that protects all the students that are going back and forth.
But who's to blame? The county has tried again and again to get something done here to combat the dangers many face in Four Corners when it comes to safety in general. But it's simply not in their power to change it directly. As Colesville Road is a state highway, it is the responsibility of the state legislature, or more specifically, the Maryland State Highway Administration.
There are a bunch of complicating factors in trying to fix these intersections and trying to fix these ramps. And the primary problem is that they're controlled by the state of Maryland. Colesville Road, Route 29, is considered a state highway. And so while it is in Montgomery County, and I'm a council member who lives right there, I am not in a position to be able to fix it on my own.
It's a real dangerous situation. And you can contrast it with the other, if you go on the university side over the Beltway, they did a really good job in the recent changes to make it look wide open so that everybody can see the crosswalk. And I've noticed that when I walk one side, I feel pretty much in danger, but then when I walk the university side, I feel like all the cars can see you, they're slowed down, the signage is good. So they've already done it for one side, on the university side. I think they could probably invest and do it on the Colesville side.
But how can you help? Advocacy is really important. Talk to your community leaders, get your voice heard, post pedestrian encounters on social media, and most importantly, make sure to drive safely and look before you walk.